هو دعم الزراعة ودعم الفلاح المصري. ويمكن عشان كده يعني الحقيقة أنا وجهت في اجتماع سابق هذا الأسبوع السادة وزراء الزراعة ووزراء التموين والري إن احنا يعني هنبدأ إن احنا ندعم عدد من السلع الاستراتيجية المهمة جدا اللي احنا عايزين نحقق فيها يعني تقليل للفجوة الاستيرادية، وعلى الأخص السلع أو المنتجات الزراعية اللي داخلة في الزيوت الطعام زي الذرة وفول الصويا وعباد الشمس. ودي كلها بتبقى محاصيل صيفية المفروض هتبدأ زراعتها يعني قبل الصيف القادم. فإن شاء الله هنعلن عن أسعار أو زراعة تعاقدية، يبقى في سعر لتشجيع الفلاح على زراعة هذه المحاصيل، وإن الدولة إن شاء الله هتكون حريصة على تسويق هذه المنتجات بحيث الفلاح أيضا يبقى هناك ليه عائد مجزي بإذن الله في هذا الموضوع، ويوفر للدولة بالتأكيد جزء من الفاتورة الاستيرادية في هذا الموضوع. احنا كدولة النهاردة بنتحرك بكل قوة نحو تقليل الفاتورة الاستيرادية والفجوة اللي موجودة عندنا الدولارية اللي موجودة، عشان يبقى ان شاء الله نقدر ان احنا تدريجيا نقضي على هذه الفجوة في خلال الفترة القادمة بإذن الله. الموضوع الآخر وهو الحقيقة يعني النهاردة أيضا وكنا أعلنا عنه، وهو مبادرة المقدمة للصناعة، القطاع الصناعي والزراعي الإنتاجي. بالفعل النهاردة مجلس الوزراء أقر المبادرة بصورة نهائية، ومعناها أن احنا هنبدأ تطبيقها بالفعل اعتبارا من الأسبوع القادم. ويمكن حضراتكم كنتوا عارفين هذه المبادرة اللي هي بتتكلم على ان احنا بنحل محل المبادرة اللي كانت قبل كده البنك المركزي كان واضحها، اللي هي بفايدة 8% مدعمة. بالتوافق مع اتحاد الصناعة واتحاد الغرف التجارية توافقنا ان المصنع او المنتج هيتحمل 11%، والدولة هي اللي هتدعم.
The state shall support or subsidize the rest of the rate exchange. It will be annually 150 billion Egyptian pounds, which is 10 billion Egyptian pounds annually. This is in order to subsidize the industry and agriculture sectors. This will start next week. The other point, which is a very important news, during the visit to Northern Sinai Governorate, I spoke about the steps taken by the central bank to adjust the exchange rate and the monetary policy in coordination and participation with the Egyptian government. We all listened to the statement issued by the central bank yesterday. I'd like to stress very important numbers today. A while ago, in January 14 to January 17, which is 4 days, we released and finalized the procedures of goods of $4.8 billion. All the goods in the Egyptian ports today at the moment are $5.3 billion. $3 billion of them, their importers haven't finalized the procedures. This means that we are almost about to finish all the accumulated goods in the ports. We started to work normally regarding the import and export of the goods, because the balance will never be zero at any day, because goods are being imported and exported every day, which is a very normal cycle in the ports. However, the most important thing, because the state within the framework of coordination between the government and the central bank released these goods. And today, with the restoring of dollar resources to the state that has been announced by the governor of the central bank, today we will resume the normal work. This is what we put before our eyes in the coming period, which is guaranteeing the availability of foreign currencies and the exchange rate, so the Egyptian market can restore its balance. All of this is done in coordination with the between the government and the Central Bank of Egypt. All of these things are very important steps, and it's very important to announce these numbers. We can never say that 5.3 is the amount of the accumulated goods. Actually, this is the amount of the goods in the ports, and 3 billions of them, their importers haven't finalized their normal procedures. The other important news is that we have discussed today with His Excellency Minister of Trade and Industry and the Minister of Oil the initial numbers of the Egyptian exports in 2022. We still audit these numbers to finally issue them, but I'd like to tell you about the initial number, which is the Egyptian exports increased to $53.8 billion. In comparison, if you remember, last year we were 45 only, with an increase of 20% almost. This is despite of all the challenges faced by the industry and production in Egypt in 2022 and all the harsh conditions that we have been through. However, the initial numbers and indicators stress that despite of all of these things and the exceptional hard conditions that we have been through in 2022, we could have achieved a higher number. We are still on our path, and every year the Egyptian exports are increasing with good numbers and percentages. We are talking about 20% actually. The most important number, our non-oil exports or imports are the same like in 2021, which is about 80 billion. I'll stop here because it's a very important point. In 2022, we faced a high increase in the prices of important goods like fuel and wheat and all the agricultural goods that we import from abroad. However, the bill of imports is remaining the same regarding numbers, which means that through the rationalization plan and the governance of goods, the amounts have been reduced. But due to the increase in the prices, the total number of the imports bill remained the same as in 2021. We still have a long way to go to reach, as I told you, bridging the gap gradually in a few years. These were very important points that I wanted to present to you. But the most important thing, today when we look at the plan, we will find that the Egyptian government has a very clear plan to make available all the necessary resources in 2023 and to bridge any existing gap in the coming period in order to avoid the dollar deficiency or deficit. This will be achieved through the procedures we are going to take and that we cannot announce unless we finalize these procedures. But the prior announcement would have negative reactions that we take into consideration. That's why I stress the fact that we are moving towards bridging this dollar gap under the directives of the Prime Minister, that we should reach this phase where there is no dollar gap at all in the revenues and expenses. The last point, given the increase in the investments and how to attract more foreign investments in the coming period, I sat with many foreign investors, and all the talking was about that the Egyptian state has to announce its tax policy for the coming 5 and 10 years, which has been finalized indeed by the Minister of Finance, and it will be announced in another press conference soon. This will clearly present the tax policy of Egypt and its trend. Actually, it will move towards stability and towards also several facilitations in the coming period. I'd like to thank you, and I will take 2 questions if you have any. I'd like to ask you about the part on releasing goods from ports and the part on the availability of goods in Ramadan exhibitions. People are worried within the increase of the Russian-Ukrainian war. Let me stress the fact that release is a very important point, because we release raw materials and production supplies. This is related to the local production, because we aim that all the factories would return to work with their full capacity, which creates balance because the supply will be increased, and in turn it leads to stability. Another point is an initiative launched by the President and the state, which is the outlets of Ramadan would start 2 months earlier. These outlets will continue till the end of Ramadan, which means 3 or 3.5 months of these outlets. Afterwards, we will consider the continuity of these outlets, and I wish that you will record and take observations of these outlets, because you will find that there's a reduction in the prices of goods, which creates stability. The Egyptian state continues, as I told you, within the light of our capabilities and the current budget, with the full reservation, is allocated for the social protection. The new budget that's being prepared currently and will be finalized at the end of February is mostly allocated for social protection, because we know we are in very exceptional global conditions, and the top priority will be for social protection and supporting the citizen. The thing that I stress the most is the availability of all goods within the light of our capacity as a state, so we can partially subsidize goods and reduce the bill that the citizen has to pay. As you can see, all the world and both developed and developing states are suffering from the increased prices. The Egyptian state, with its full capacity, is mobilized to reduce as much as possible from the consequences of these crises. This is how I reassure the citizens, especially through rationalizing spending. We reduce some chapters of the budget so they can all be transformed to the social protection, so we can increase it. The Minister of Finance, regarding the wheat issue, he said that there will be an increase for this issue in the budget. I mentioned before, and I'd like to repeat it again. The number set by the Egyptian state as subsidy for wheat was only 38 billion. Today, at the end of this year, it will be 95 billion. Only subsidy for wheat. These numbers explain how we as a state try to set these allocations. And as you know, the price of the bread is still the same. The state takes responsibility of all these things because we consider all the exceptional conditions in the whole world. That's why I'd like to reassure the citizens that we work within the light of our available capacity to increase the social protection in the coming period. Another question?
دولة رئيس الوزراء تحت بعد
Your Excellency Prime Minister,
في رسالة طبعا لما سيادتك كنت بتفتتح
when you inaugurated Al Ramadan outlet in Giza, the citizens were very happy and they thanked the political leadership represented in the president and the government.
هم مدركين ان احنا في ظرف استثنائي عالمي.
They know that we are in an exceptional world condition, so they want all these outlets to be continued all the year long. That's why I wanted to tell you this message, that they want these outlets all the year long. We conducted many tours in different governorates. The farmers wanted to increase the amount, the price of wheat due to the current conditions. There's also another question on industry. Many factories owners complain about closing some factories. They want to listen to they want to know the view of the government. Will there be a clear strategy for the factories that have been closed after the Russian war? You spoke about subsidizing the Egyptian farmer and the industrial and agricultural production. We said that there is an initiative, because this was a very large problem when the central bank initiative has been stopped. I want to speak about this point because it's a very important one. The new initiative make us go towards the medium and small industries with an interest rate of 11%, but the actual rate is 18.75%. So the manufacturer has only to pay 11% and the country pays the rest of the amount. Through the initiative of the central bank, more than 90% of the initiative is used in the operating capital. So the importer of the raw material and production supplies will have an interest rate of 8%, which makes them able to continue. But with the repercussions of the price increase and the exchange rate issue and the increased interest rate, but with the intervention of this initiative, we will make these factories work again. In addition to releasing the goods in the ports and making the foreign currency available and releasing all the accumulated goods, the factories will be able to work with their full capacity. The government focuses on this issue with the factories and the Union of Commercial Chambers. Every 48 hours, I meet with the stakeholders in this sector or all my colleagues in the government to make sure that the release is continued. Your Excellency Prime Minister, I have a question on agriculture. The state pays attention to that sector. There are strong incentives that you've mentioned regarding subsidizing the Egyptian farmer and increasing the price of wheat. Definitely, there are many Egyptian products that have been widely marketed in different countries, and they are exported by Egypt. These products are landmark in the markets. So what are the most important products that have made success last year and how they can be subsidized in the coming period? Of course, the Egyptian crops have a good reputation. I'd like to tell you that in the past 2 years, we went to more than 80 new markets: Egyptian citrus, strawberries and grapes, and of course potatoes. All these products have a good reputation in all markets, and all the agricultural products do the same. And I'd like to tell you that last year we exported about 5.6 million tons, and this year we exported 6.5 million tons, which is a very good increase. All of this is coupled with the agricultural manufacturing like the manufacturing of fertilizers that is highly needed in the foreign markets. We continue to subsidize these goods and these industries, and we will increase this in the coming period so we can open new